Before we get into today's video, I want to say thank you so much for 15,000 subscribers. That's crazy to me. And I know because a lot of you are new and because you joined when I was in Barcelona for the summer, you might not recognize this location, but I'm home in London and I'm so happy to be home, even though it's been raining since I got home. We only got back like last week, so it's been a really busy time of unpacking and prepping for fashion week and kind of thinking about long-term stuff for my channel too, which I'm really excited to tell you about when I finally get it all together. But it means that one, I'm absolutely exhausted, and two, I don't have a solid concept to talk to you about today for a video. Kind of what I was thinking of doing instead was a brain dump video. I have a lot of things that are just like pinging around my mind that I want to talk about, and they're not really enough for a video on their own. So why not make them into one big jumbled mess of a video and just do it really casually, because I can't be bothered to do all the normal editing that I do. So it's going to be a different kind of video. And yeah, let's get into some topics happening in fashion. I feel like first we have to discuss Charli XCX calling the end of Brat Girl Summer. And first off, the really weird way that the BBC announced this, it was like a death in the royal family or something. But obviously, yeah, summer's kind of ending. Brat Summer was massive, and now I'm assuming it's going to be something else for fall. I've seen a lot of like Modest Girl Autumn, and also some like pig thing. I don't even know what's happening there, but people are saying it's like a pig farmer summer or something. I don't know. But what's interesting is, although Charli's kind of said that Brat Girl Summer is over, she's also just announced collaboration with H&M. And when I say I fell to my knees when I saw this collaboration, I would be lying. But it did kind of shock me. I mean, when I did that Brat Girl Summer video, God, it feels like ages ago, but it must have been like a few months ago, I said how Charli herself had mentioned the fact that to be part of Brat Girl Summer, you didn't need to buy anything. You literally need like a pack of cigarettes, a lighter, and a white tank top, which, putting aside the glamorization of smoking, felt kind of cool, felt kind of like anti-trend at the time. And now for her to go and announce a collaboration with H&M, which by the way seemed kind of weird the way that H&M did it. I mean, apparently they wiped their entire Instagram feed, which I pity the poor intern that had to do that. And they simply posted a picture of Charli wearing some clothes from H&M as the only item on their feed. And I kind of know what your guys' thoughts are on this, because personally, obviously I'm not a massive fan of H&M, but it feels kind of weird to me that she's collaborating with a fast fashion brand as like a non-massive fan of her music. But I mean, I've listened to like the biggest tracks of the summer and they all feel kind of like grungy and sleazy from her new album, and anti-capitalist if I had to like guess. And then for her to be collaborating with H&M is kind of a weird move for me. I kind of wish that she'd picked another brand to do this with. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but it just feels like the collaboration doesn't quite marry up. I mean, what's also kind of been funny is that all summer long, people, at least in my feeds, have been dunking on brands for trying to get involved with Brat Girl Summer and like trying to like hop on the trend when it feels really disingenuous. And then you have Charli herself sanctioning a collab with H&M, which, you know, does not make sense in my mind. Like, what does H&M have to do with Brat Girl Summer? They're just not the kind of brand that I picture her wanting to work with, as someone who does not know her, to be fair. So correct me if like this is very in line for her, but it just feels weird to me. When I saw the way that H&M had brought out that Charli campaign and kind of killed the trend by making it a branded thing, it kind of got me thinking about the idea of whether our generation will be labeled the most cringy when it comes to fashion. I mean, especially compared to our parents and our grandparents and the generations before that have just not had as much access and freedom to fashion as we have, with the fast fashion explosion and also with the explosion of social media and the birth of the trend cycle and the way that we're now all pretty much dressing like each other. I just feel like because Gen Z is really the first generation that has experienced all these things come together at once at a time when they're also coming of age and discovering their styles and wanting to conform and fit into what everyone thinks is cool, will it ever be as bad as it is now for the cringiness of trends? I mean, already I think people get cringed out when they think of trends that are only just a few years old or even months old. Like bloke core is weird. And also like mermaid core, kind of weird. I mean, yeah, I see it at the time. People were obsessed, and I think people maybe will look back on it fondly when they're thinking about it when they're older, because, you know, we have fun with fashion nowadays. Like, there's no taking that away from people. The trend cycle, at least, creates a sense of community and excitement in fashion that I feel maybe previous generations didn't quite have to the level that we do. But when future generations look back on our generation's approach to fashion, especially at this age, I feel like we will be labeled the cringiest generation, you know? I guess although we look back on the 80s now, say, or the 70s, as people who didn't experience the culture when it was happening, we kind of find the fits weird but cool. We're like, oh, that's so dated, that's so cool. But our generation doesn't really have that sense of defined style that you think of when you think of the 70s and the 80s and the 90s, or even the 2000s, to be fair. We don't really have that one look that you think of. I hope this makes sense. Like, you know, when you think of the 70s, it's like high-waisted pants and bell bottoms. And when you think of the 90s, it's very like Jennifer Aniston style. I don't really know, my brain's not working. But I think of Jennifer Aniston when I think of the 90s. But what will people think of when they think of Gen Z, when they think of like the 2020s? There's nothing that's really gonna define us. I think we will be the generation of trends. I don't know, that's just kind of interesting to me. Like, are we breaking the mold because we're not conforming in the way that our previous generations have? And actually kind of related to this, but also really not. I've been watching a lot of YouTube because I've been exhausted, like I said. So I just kind of wanted to veg out on the sofa. And one YouTuber that I kind of wanted to highlight who did a really good... Oh, that was lightning. Sorry, that's now thunder. The UK, as I said, is raining cats and dogs. One YouTuber I wanted to highlight that has done a really good job and I really enjoyed their video was Phoebe Taylor. Phoebe's video about not boxing yourself into a certain style aesthetic and in the importance of allowing yourself to find clothes you like and label your style after, rather than picking a label and then letting it define you, was really interesting. And she explains it in a lot better way than I just have. So I definitely recommend watching her video, and I'll probably put on a couple of other videos that I really enjoyed watching recently because I actually got to watch YouTube for the first time in a while. It feels like normally I'm the one creating stuff and I don't get to watch a lot. I've also been spending so much time on Pinterest. I know a lot of you wanted me to turn my video on staple full fashion items into a Pinterest board, and I've kind of done that with my existing autumn board, so you're more than welcome to follow me on there. It should be a good source of inspiration for you guys. Another thing I've been doing while I've just been sat on the sofa vegging out is scrolling through secondhand sites. And one thing I couldn't help but notice spending so much time as I did on these sites is just the sheer amount of fast fashion on there. It got to the point where I realized what I was doing was trying to filter out the fast fashion by using the filters that the site gave me and kind of like makeshift doing it. Like, because I didn't want to sort by brand, I wanted to see like a whole range of different brands. Instead, what I was doing was making the price £20 and up, I think, to really weed out that fast fashion stuff. And I was also filtering by fabric and basically ticking all of them except for like polyester and any other plastic fabric that I could see. And it kind of got me thinking about the fact that I feel like more secondhand sites need to have a box you can tick that excludes fast fashion. And I know this would be really hard because obviously there's no actual definition of what a fast fashion brand is, and it could be really subjective. And also I don't know how the site would do this, whether they would do it by brand or whether they would do it by material. I don't know. It's not a practical request, but I do think it's something that brands should be doing. And I know that Vestiaire Collective have done this, so there must be a way. Whether they do it by brand on their site, or whether they have some other kind of criteria that defines what fast fashion is and disallows it. I think that there should be an ingrained filter on all of these sites so you can tick off fast fashion. I mean, I don't want to be shopping fast fashion if I can help it. And I don't want to be wading through fast fashion listings to try find something that I think is good quality from a good quality brand. I saw this statistic the other day that was something like 60 million items of clothing from Zara are now on Vinted. I mean, and that's just one fast fashion site on one secondhand platform. You just think like, obviously, because people are shopping fast fashion more and more, it's also flooding into our secondhand sites more and more. But there needs to be an easier way to filter it out if that's not what you're looking for. And I think that's a big population of people shopping on secondhand sites, right? I mean, there's not much price difference between shopping for secondhand and fast fashion. So most people are going to secondhand because they want better quality and they don't want to support fast fashion. So having that filter in place makes sense. I mean, kind of speaking of, the whole reason I was thinking about secondhand online sites is the fact that it's secondhand September, and I wanted to encourage you guys to share your favorite thrift finds. I did a tweet calling out people to share photos of their favorite thrift finds, but also if you guys want to share them in the comments below, that would be really good. And I think it's just fun to celebrate stuff we found thrifting. On my tweet, I talked about the skirt I found in Barcelona and also a full secondhand fit that I did back in spring that I absolutely loved, and like literally every single item I was wearing was thrifted, and it was just really fun. And I've really enjoyed the replies so far. So I highly encourage you guys to get involved. One of the other things I talked about on Twitter that I wanted to like mention here is this article I saw on Vogue Business, I think, talking about how the rise of the Ozempic drug, I hope I'm saying that right, has led to an increase in plus size fashion being listed on resale sites. And I just find that absolutely fascinating. I mean, firstly, it's a great time to shop plus size fashion secondhand if that's what you're looking for. And the fact that Vogue basically did a PSA about this is really cool. But I just find it absolutely fascinating how fashion is so linked to what's happening in the world. Like sometimes I feel fashion exists in a bubble almost, especially because I do this for my job and I talk about fashion for my job. It feels like it's almost removed from society. And then something like this comes along and I realize how much fashion is impacted by what's happening in the world. And it always fascinates me. I mean, the fact that the rise of quiet luxury was completely linked to the economic downturn the whole world is experiencing and the way that we no longer want to wear flashy clothes or invest in clothes that won't last as long is fascinating. Also, the articles I've recently seen about how New York Fashion Week is using its platform and designers are using the platform as a way to encourage people to get out and vote in this really important American election. And also the way that we've seen a full summer of sport and fashion be intrinsically linked to that in a way that I feel is on a much bigger impact than it usually is. Like the Olympics, you have Lewis Hamilton in Formula One, you have that tennis player that's wearing those really cute bows on her clothes while she's playing tennis. I can't remember her name, I'll find a tweet. It's just really, really cool. And obviously not new, but I feel like it's growing and I know fashion is investing in it more. So I don't know. It's just really interesting to me. The fact that fashion seems like it's becoming more respected in a way, and we're acknowledging the fact that it's a much bigger industry than some people would like it to seem. Speaking of New York Fashion Week, and I know you're thinking this is supposed to be really random ramblings, but you seem to have a segue into everything. And that's because I am a planner, even when I plan to just ramble. So anyway, speaking of Fashion Week, Ganni have been on a 2-year hiatus from Copenhagen Fashion Week, which was always their iconic kind of playground. And Copenhagen Fashion Week, I think, became big quite partly due to Ganni's involvement in it. Anyway, they have not been showing for 2 years at Copenhagen Fashion Week, I believe. And they've now announced that they're going to be showing in Paris this year instead. And I want to know why. I couldn't find out why. Well, the reason that some articles give is because ganni's new CEO or someone in the C-suite is from Paris and they moved in order to like be with him or something. I don't know. They basically gave like quite a bullshitty reason, I think. But I'm interested as to what the real reason is. I mean, when I tweeted this, because I've been tweeting a lot from the couch, someone said that they believe it's because Copenhagen Fashion Week has upped its sustainability requirements and ganni no longer fit the bill. And I mean, totally this could be true. Obviously, as ganni has grown as a brand recently, it's going to be a lot harder for them to hit the sustainability requirements, especially since they've gotten even stricter this year. So that could be true. But obviously, I don't know if that's true. And I feel like it could just as easily be that ganni feels like it's outgrown Copenhagen Fashion Week in a way. Like, it's become a lot bigger of a brand since it began showing in Copenhagen. And maybe they feel like going to one of the big fashion weeks is the only way they can start to be taken even more seriously. Like, they can break out of being a cult brand and become more of a name brand amongst regular people, not just people obsessed with fashion. And obviously, I know they're quite well known now, but, you know, showing at Paris is going to be a big step up. It's a lot more glamorized, right? But maybe it marks a new beginning in the company's strategy, or maybe it's like the next step up for them. And I find that really interesting and also quite worrying. I guess not worrying, but I feel like it would have been nice if they stayed at Copenhagen Fashion Week. Like I don't like the possibility that they feel like they've outgrown it and they have to leave Copenhagen Fashion Week and they have to go to Paris in order to become more relevant. Like, I wish they'd kept that relevancy and made Copenhagen more of a big name, especially considering its sustainability requirements. Like, it feels like they're almost deserting that and almost shucking the accountability that Copenhagen gives. I don't know, because obviously sustainability is grounded into their DNA and I'm a massive fan of the brand and I have spoken about them so many times on this channel. So I hope that's not the direction they're going down, but it feels like a weird move to me. One last thing I wanted to talk about, just to kind of see if you guys feel the same, is I live in fear of my algorithm. And I don't think this is like, I don't know if it's normal or not. Like, I am so careful about what I look at online because I know that it's going to come back to me later on in some form. When I'm researching videos and when I was doing like the influencer video recently, say, because this is what sparked this whole train of thought, I had to look at a lot of different shopping haul videos and Zara haul videos, and it kills me inside a little bit to look at this on my TikTok channel or my Twitter, because I know that my phone is understanding what I'm doing and I'm going to be getting like an Instagram ad later on or a Twitter ad or whatever. And I'm basically putting myself at risk of being influenced. And although I'm a lot better now and not letting myself be influenced, I still worry that it will break through my barriers in a certain way. And I guess it's just fascinating to me the way that I feel like a victim of my algorithm. Like, shouldn't we have more control? Like, I don't like how so much of social media is shopping. And when I do these kind of videos, I know that I'm telling the algorithm that I want to go shopping and it should push me more content like this. Like, my algorithm is ruined after I do this kind of video. It's just kind of interesting to me, the fact that I literally have a fear of how powerful my algorithm is, if that makes any sense. One of the things my algorithm has been pushing to me recently is the fact that there's no trends this autumn. And I feel like I kind of got ahead of the curve with this with my recent video, but I just find that so funny. Have we truly run out of a trend cycle now? Like, is everyone just truly exhausted with trying to come up with new items every season? that we're now accepting the fact that there's no new items this season. Like, everything already exists. Like, no matter how you frame it, no matter how you rebrand something, it's the same thing. Obviously, it's giving me a lot of hope that people are going to continue this into the next season. Like, we're going to be seeing the same discourse for winter and spring and summer, and eventually we'll get ourselves out of this trend cycle that we've dug ourselves into and fast fashion has perpetuated. But I also wonder if it's linked to the rise of underconsumption and all of these anti-capitalism trends that I've been seeing recently, that I've been talking about on this channel. And like those trends, it will be followed by a anti-capitalism wave, and there'll be another side of the internet that's determined to go against the grain and kind of makes things into a trend just because nothing's trending. And obviously it makes me think, what are influencers going to do if no trends are trending? Like, they have to sell something, right? They have to make it seem new in a way in order to make money, in order to get brand deals. So I'm really interested to see where this kind of goes and whether it expands across the internet, whether it dies off like a lot of other trends. I don't know. I think it'll be interesting. I'd love to hear your thoughts about what you think is going to happen. But yeah, I think that's everything in my brain recently. I'd love to know if you like this kind of content. It was quite fun to just ramble. So let me know if you enjoyed this, and maybe I'll make it more of a regular thing. It's kind of fun to just chat like this and get my opinions out rather than always relying on reporting what the media is saying. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed it as much as I enjoyed just chatting to you for half an hour. And I'll speak to you really soon. Have a lovely day. Bye.